Poet, novelist, and playwright, Langston Hughes was the leading voice of the Harlem Renaissance.
America was changing during the time that Langston Hughes was so popular. Black consciousness was becoming more and more public, more prominent. I think that Langston Hughes was important because he was one of the early figures to show the dignity and the beauty of ordinary black life.
He was one of the most visible of the younger black poets, a new generation that described themselves as the new Negro. They covered new topics, took on new poetic forms, and sought a wider audience, and Langston Hughes was at the forefront of that.
You can be taking notes on this information as well.
Hughes was born in Joplin, Missouri on February 1st, 1902. He wrote a lot about being lonely when he was young, and I think that was a tremendous part of the product of moving around so much. After graduating high school, Hughes published his first and most famous poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers.
It is the first poem that celebrates Africa and dignifies the image of Africa in American literature.
The Negro Speaks of Rivers was published in a popular black journal, and so he was really rather widely read from the beginning. His poetry and his prose actually had access to everyday
have
people.
Your student summary open.
While studying at Columbia University, Hughes discovered the Harlem art scene, spending hours in jazz and blues clubs, weaving the rhythms of music into his work.
Jazz and blues were great influences on Langston Hughes. He sought to capture the energy and vitality of the music in his poetry.
He was very familiar with the Harlem nightlife. He knew the musicians, and later in his life he would even collaborate with some of the key figures at that time, such as Duke Ellington.
Hughes was a prolific writer and one of the first African-American authors who could support himself through his writing.
Langston Hughes wrote plays. He edited anthologies of poets of African descent across the diaspora. He wrote short stories. One of his most famous series of short stories centers around Jesse B. Simple. These are tales told by a resident of Harlem to an aspiring writer who's a stand-in for Langston Hughes.
He was one of the more widely published of the young poets of the period. He was also among the better connected. He really worked hard to promote the careers of other young writers in Harlem and also throughout the rest of his life. That's also one of his big legacies.
Langston Hughes died of cancer on May 22, 1967. His Harlem residence was given landmark status, a fitting tribute for a legendary writer.
His influence, his ambition as a creative writer, his success, his accessibility. He wrote for the average person. He was not writing for college classrooms. He was not writing for the elite. All of those things, I think, require that we recognize and acknowledge him as a great American literary voice of the 20th century.
I thought this was our student summary.
No.
So I've been taking my stuff on this.
Taking what stuff?
Like the notes or whatever we're supposed to do.
That doesn't make sense.
Like it says this.
Yeah. Go to your drive. Look up summary.
Langston Hughes by the three of us.
Oops.
And Haley is invisible right now. Facts about Langston Hughes is that he was born February 1st, 1902.
Should have had that
His parents
done.
were separated at birth.
Yep.
Should have
He was
Eleanor.
raised by his
Should have.
grandmother until she
Didn't
died.
know about
He graduated from Columbia University. He was best known for his books, plays, and films. His parents had been separated, and he lived with his mother and her husband until about his high school and middle school, when he first started writing poems. He couldn't find his father because he was in Mexico. Where is that? Some of the influences of Langston Hughes were W.E.B. Du Bois, Walt Whitman, Carl Sandburg, Paul Vanberg.
Other poets and writers.
some of the poems, some of your guys' poems that he wrote about blacks and their lives. First poem was Negros, the Negro Speaks of River. Many others that you like to or to read.
He also had many where they made a book about him called The Selected Poems.
He's got a number of collections of poems.
We have some of his poems that we're going to read. We're going to explain together. So this first one he did was I Too.
I too sing America. I am your darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen. When company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I will be at the table. When company comes, nobody will dare to say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Any suggestions of what you think this poem means?
What's the message he's sending there? Do you want to hear it one more time?
Yeah.
You could, if you go to your lesson plan, that Lindsay, if you go to your lesson plan, that you could hear him read it. At other side. There you go.
For a whole race of people freed
And this
from
is actually
slavery with
Langston
nothing,
Hughes.
without money, without work, without education, it has not always been easy to hold fast to dreams. But the Negro people believed in the American dream. Now, since almost 100 years of freedom, we've come a long ways. But there is still a long way to go for the Negro and democracy. This is a poem called I Too. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful we are and be ashamed. I too am America.
What is it that you think about, like, in your own words? What do you think it means?
Sunny? Any ideas?
Who's the I? Who's he talking about? Who's the speaker here? What'd you say? Sonny, what'd you say? A black person? Okay. Because it could be Langston Hughes, but the writer is different than the speaker. The author is different than the speaker. So it definitely could be Langston Hughes, but it could also be just any black person. Could it be someone else? Instead of an individual, could it be a race? Collective, because it says, let me see, tomorrow I'll eat at the table. When company comes, nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Could it be the race, whites versus blacks, blacks versus whites?
Reminds me of Rosa Parks thing.
Ah, okay, expound on that.
What?
Expound on it. Give me more information, elaborate on it.
Because he wants to Hughes to move. He's gonna like, eat where he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Rosa Parks had the fun bus. because she was tired
Mm-hmm.
and she refused to get up.
Yeah. And then what happened after that with, specifically with eating or at a table? What kinds of things happened in the civil rights movement? Change, yeah. But what did a lot of black and white people for African Americans do at tables or restaurants?
Separated.
Well, they were segregated, but after a while, what started happening to make a statement?
Oh, the sit-ins?
Sit-ins, yeah. Is that what you're going to say, Curran?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had sit-ins. So this was well before that, but it kind of is a precursor. It's that same idea that we get to eat where we want to, but more than just eating, because that table represents more than just a kitchen table or an eating table. It represents what? Life. What'd you say? Life. Yeah. Everything in life. The base and our table where we eat, those are our basics. And so the basics of life that the black or the white people are saying, hey, you don't belong here. But tomorrow.
I think it basically means like he's taking a step for himself. Taking a step up, getting some encouragement. Hit me, jab me, make me say I did it. Blood on my sports shirt and my tan suede shoes. Faces like jack-o'-lanterns and gray slouch hats. Slug me, beat me, scream jumps out. Like blowtorch, 3 kicks between the legs that kill the kids I make tomorrow. Bars and floor, skyrocket, and burst like Roman candles. When you throw cold water on me, I'll sign the paper.
So what do you guys think this one's like? Sounds like a bunch of what?
I didn't hear you. A bunch of what?
Threats.
Threats.
What kinds of threats?
It sounds like a slaves working with slave owners.
Okay, well, does it sound like slaves? I would say blacks versus white, but do we have slaves here? He's in his sport shirt, which goes with his sport coat, and suede shoes. Does that sound like a slave?
No.
No.
What's it sound like?
A well-off black man.
Basement.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's getting beaten, but even though he's getting beaten, he's the one signing the hospital papers.
The what papers?
The hospital papers.
Could be hospital, but what's the beginning say? And what about the title? What does it mean, 3rd degree?
Oh, it reminds me, there's a story about a man who was beaten and burned and he dropped into a river. And mom's mother had him out on display to show what white people did to that kid.
Okay.
That's what it reminds me of.
Okay. Have you ever heard, give him the 3rd degree? Boy, he really got the 3rd degree, or she gave him the 3rd degree.
Like the worst?
Yeah, the worst. Yeah. So 3rd degree, he says, hit me, jab me, make me say I did it. And then at the end, after you
Okay.
splash cold water on me, then I'll sign the papers. What's going on here?
I mean, he was signing a confession.
Yeah. But he said he'd sign it at the end, ... The ellipsis is there, which means, could be. Just, no.
What do you think?
He's gonna fight back, maybe.
Is he gonna, did he sign the papers right away? That he did it? No, he fought, didn't he? He, in the end, he said he'd sign the papers after he got knocked out cold. ... though. What's that mean at the end? The ellipsis.
There's more to it.
It's more that we're not saying. Yeah, he might sign the papers for now, but there's a lot more to this story. A lot more is going to happen.
What do you say?
But he signs it and he rips him up.
Could be. Or he signs them and he tells everybody else, don't you sign them. Or so many other things could happen. So what's the message here?
You can try, it's never gonna work.
That what?
You can try, but it might never work.
But what? Is he saying, sorry, my fellow black people, it's not going to work. You're just going to get beat up. And that's all the story. Is that what his message is here?
I think more they can beat me up and do what they want, but I'll still stand right up for my rights.
Yeah. I'm going to fight. I'm not going to just take it. I'm not going to just do what they want. They're going to have to fight me. Yeah. Being assertive, aggressive, taking a stand, fighting for equality at least, instead of letting it, inequality just plain happen. Yeah.
Ballad of the girl whose name is Mud. A girl with all that reading. That's hard to understand. How could she get in trouble with a no-good man? The guy she gave her all to dropped her with a thud. Now amongst decent people, Dorothy's name is Mud. But nobody's seen her shed a tear, nor seen her hang her head. Ain't no one ever heard her murmur, Lord, I wish I was dead. No pussy's telling everybody just as though it no sin. But if she had a chance, she'd do it again.
Do you guys think this is
Okay, Cody and Colin, I'd like you guys in the desks over there, please. So you're inside the instruction circle here. Come on, guys, help your teachers out here. Ballad of the Girl Whose Name is Mud. What's the situation? What's going on for this girl?
She was in love with an abusive person.
I didn't hear you.
She was in love with an abusive person.
Oh, okay.
and like now people want me to make it fun though, but she really do great things.
You think of this like stanza or paragraph. What do you think that last stanza is?
The whole stanza?
This last stanza right here? do you guys think hussy means? In particular, what stuff?
No, the hussy's telling everybody, just as though it was no sin, that if she had a chance, she'd do it again. Well, the first paragraph, a girl with all that raisin, Raiden is kind of like that upbringing. It's hard to understand how she could get in trouble with a no-good man. People are thinking she should have known better. That's a scum that she's with. How could she go out with him? And the guy she gave her all to dropped her with a thud. Now, amongst decent people, Dorothy's name is Munt. So now she just destroyed her life. Every good person thinks she's terrible. She's a slut. But nobody's seen her shed a tear, nor seen her hang her head, and ain't even heard her murmur, "Lord, I wish I was dead." She's not feeling bad about this. She's holding her head high. No, the hussy's telling everybody, just as though it was no sin, that if she had a chance, she'd do it again. What's the message there? Okay. What kind of message do you think that Langston Hughes meant for that? What purpose did he have with that message? Remember who his audience was. Mostly black people and white intellectuals. Why would he have, for what purpose would he have written this? Christian.
Probably about how white people and black people would like to hate each other. Nobody really liked to understand it. It's kind of absurd to them.
Okay, so a racist message.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is probably about a white girl. You know, normal because she's white. A good person because her skin is white. Going out with a black guy.
Could be.
That's probably what it is.
Okay, could be. Although, it could also be someone, a black person, black woman, who had more of the whitish, if you would say that, upbringing and should have known better. Could be. Either way. If it doesn't have the racism, if it's just about a daughter or a woman, what else could it mean? Because you can read this all sorts of different ways. You can put a definite racism bent to it. You could put just a class bent to it. Okay. So the speaker is calling her the hussy. So the speaker, what do we think? Is the speaker white or is the speaker black? Interesting.
Even about racism at the time, it can also be about really rich woman going out with the cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. So really about, if you boil it down to its essence, judgment. Whether it's race, class, religion, upbringing in that respect. They could be poor, but they could be very religious. Judgment. When someone else doesn't judge someone else as good, and this person says what? The hussy says what? Is she allowing the judgment to affect her and change her? No, she's saying, I am who I am. Mhm. That's good to recognize that there are many different interpretations and that the settings can be totally different from which you interpret it. Euphrates.
This is where my mom went to college. This is where my mom got her degree. My aunt did it here.
I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
Who do you think that I is, the speaker?
Old black.
Okay, is there a black man old enough to have raised the pyramids?
Well, no, but like, be like slaves.
Well, I
Slaves.
think that he's talking about what his ancestors have done.
Okay, so the race as a whole?
That's like an interesting way to say it, Joe.
Yeah. The Euphrates, the Congo, the Nile. All ancient, biblical, African rivers. And then we skip to Mississippi and Abe Lincoln and New Orleans. What's that significance?
And they stretched all across the board.
Yeah.
We have a worksheet for you guys to do. You're going to read it and write it on which one you think you
Basically, how about this?
Don't put your hot questions
What are we gonna do
sometime
with
tonight.
this?
What was the biggest message in the folders of Lindsay's Hughes that you saw today?
You want us to write our name on it?
No. What? Yeah, what was the, I didn't even see the hot. Bell ringer.
The bell ringer.
Oh, yeah, the bell ringer. Identify what or who influences you. Who influenced you today?
You could probably turn the lights back on now.
Yeah. Did me turn this off? Leave it on all day, huh?
Do they know what they're supposed to be doing?
the story of two black people living in poverty, having to work very hard to make money for their survival. It's very, I'd have to agree with that. He once was something, but now is nothing, like a skeleton.
Lindsay.
Two black people trying to make a living, but they make very little money.
Okay.
About working hard and accomplishing something. The actor reflects very well what you
What you guys wrote, like, when we were doing this, we were trying to wonder like what influenced him to write all these poems and everything. And like what you guys wrote, some of them are like influences too, I guess. So, like, when we think for our bell ringer for the talk issue, like what influenced you, what do you think influenced him to write all these poems?
What were some of the things that influence our students first? Let's hear that. I'd be interested.
Some put friends, parents, money, art, my mom, myself, video games, parents, music, friends. Do you think those things influenced him too? Or
I think the distant vision of blacks being free.
And what would have influenced that vision for him? That goal, that dream, that pursuit. What do you think? Would seeing the way his friends were treated, seeing the way his mother was treated, seeing the way things in art, what was valued in America as art. And what else? Music? What's that? Okay.
Stories he's written or read, plays he's seen.
Okay.
Creative juices just loaded.
Oh, you want to swipe that, please? 4 minutes.
That is.
You want to share that?
Thinking about where it came from, basic human question to which we have a certain answer. He's
Don't
talking
have a
about-
certain answer.
Hmm?
Don't have a certain answer. I have.
Oh. We have no certain answer. He's talking about how humane moderate life is.
Mundane.
Which one day? I don't even know what racism has been everywhere. Is or has been everywhere. Criticizing someone has I can't, sorry, I can't reach walls either.
Okay, basically, criticizing someone based on race is silly, because they're criticizing a part of the mystery of human development, because we don't know everything about where black people came from or where white people came from, because there's hundreds of thousands of years of history behind that, so it's just kind of silly.
Yeah. But consider that. Yeah. Consider that mystery. Yeah. What did you guys think of the middle part where the little parentheses? Somebody read that. Oh, did you have something about that?
I just thought they added that in there.
Oh, no, that was actually part of his poem, was he added that parentheses. Why would he have done that?
Can we have 4
He's talking about what capital letter? Which capital letter is he talking about? Curran? What do you think? You don't have it in front of you anymore? Okay.
It's capital A.
Is,
It says capital A. A capital letter he there. He, the mystery.
the he from Pa. That he as in the Pa, the ancestor of everybody. That's a mystery, and that is capital because it's first and it's a mystery and we don't know it. Yeah. He wanted to emphasize, to capitalize that idea of our ancestry being a mystery. Good selections.
That's really bad as I know who I'm related to. Okay, so the
Good selections.
The bell's gonna ring, so our hot discussion, what was the big message in the poems of Lindsay Hughes? Pretty much what we discussed about today. Any poem, like always about anything. Big idea. Maybe racism.
Racism, yeah. The mystery of everyday life, and it's human nature versus race nature. Yeah, very good.